Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Hello.
Hey, Larry.
I just thought I'd talk through your microphone from across the room there.
Mine wasn't on?
Change things up. No, yours was.
Oh,
Mine was off.
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it's 8:07 now on O'Connor and Company this Friday morning. I was about to say it's the 20th hour out of 20 hours of broadcasting, and apparently it's obvious because, get to the end of the thing.
I feel you.
Coming up, it's the Chris Plant Show featuring Chris Plant, of all people. I'm Larry O'Connor with Patrice
Onwuka.
We've already heard your microphone. There you go.
Yeah.
Steve Milloy is the founder of Junk Science. He's the author of Scare Pollution, Why and How to Fix the EPA. And we needed an expert opinion here because, we can't do without a climate czar. And although I'm pretty sure we did for 4 years under Donald Trump. And I think we did for 8 years under Anyway, Steve Milloy will help us out here because John Kerry announced he was stepping down as our climate czar. And he's been replaced by John Podesta? Steve? I'm sorry, what exactly is John Podesta's experience? He does watch the Weather Channel. I'll give him that. But anything else? Steve?
Oh, hey, good morning.
Yeah, sorry, that was my question. Does he have any qualifications for a job like this?
Hey, look, what qualifications did John Kerry have? The whole thing is just ridiculous.
That's fair.
So John Podesta is this longtime political hack, lobbyist, part of co-founder of the Podesta Group, and so what? Now he's going to be negotiating away America's national security and freedoms on climate instead of Kerry. The funny thing is, you might remember the Podesta emails in 2016.
Oh, yeah. The Podesta emails that WikiLeaks got a hold of because John Podesta's password was password.
So those emails revealed that the Podesta Group was actually lobbying for more liquid natural gas export terminals in the U.S. And, of course, just this week, the Biden administration came out against more liquid natural gas terminals, LNG. So, what's going on? The whole thing is just crazy.
Well, interestingly, just shifting a little bit away from that, Steve, but I'm looking at Europe right now, where farmers are expressing pretty clearly they can't stand what the governments are doing there and cracking down on them. And you're starting to see an economic impact. You tweeted out some video footage of Belgian farmers in Brussels protesting climate change policies, but then also the supermarket shelves in France and Belgium and clearing out because there's no farmers and there's no food. Talk to us about this movement and what we're seeing. And do you think that we might see something like this in the United States?
Well, so globalism has started to come after farmers. They want to raise the price of fossil fuels. They want to stop using fertilizer, which, of course, is just going to make food more expensive, if not impossible, to grow. This movement started last year with Dutch farmers. It's picked up steam at German farmers, French farmers, and now the Belgian farmers. And all the farmers are driving their tractors into capital cities and blocking the roads. And, of course, when the farmers are driving their tractors into capital cities and blocking the roads, they're not producing food. So supermarket shelves are becoming bare in Europe, and it's unfortunate this is happening. But on the other hand, I'm glad it is. It's like the Canadian truckers. People are upset at globalism and at climate policies, which are adversely affecting their lives, our lives, and accomplishing nothing for the environment or, the climate, if that's something you're worried about. So I'm just, I'm glad to see it. And of course, the media is hardly reporting this.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's getting zero coverage. Steve Milloy is our guest, founder of Junk Science, and he's author of Scare Pollution, Why and How to Fix the EPA. And so you're the perfect person to ask about the number two punch of the 1-2 punch against our economy and freedoms. The number one punch was John Podesta as the unconfirmed, unaccountable, completely off the reservation, do whatever you want with an unlimited budget climate czar. But then sadly, the other concern is Joe Goffman, the brand new EPA administrator for Joe Biden. What do we know about this guy? He barely got approved, 50-49 in the Senate. Should we be worried about this guy?
Well, yeah, we got to worry about him the same way we have to worry about Mayorkas, even though Joe Biden is really in charge of all this stuff. So these are all just bad people. Joe Goffman is a former Environmental Defense Fund attorney. He's really been scheming. He worked with the Obama administration to get climate rules out and to shut down the coal industry in the United States. And so now he just got confirmed as the Biden EPA's air chief. And it was really done in kind of a disgusting way. It was a 50-50 vote. Then Senator John Barrasso, Republican from Wyoming, his wife apparently passed away last week, and so he was away. And so Democrats took the opportunity to, squeeze Goffman's nomination through.
That's despicable.
50 to 49.
Yeah, in fact, it should be mentioned, Joe Manchin voted with Republicans on this, but you're right, that was the one missing vote.
Yeah, now, even if Barrasso had been there, it would have forced Kamala Harris to break the tie, but I just find it kind of despicable that the Senate is supposed to be this collegial body. Well, of course, it never really works out that way for Republicans, right?
Yeah, of course. Back to Podesta real fast. I guess I should amend because I said, what qualifications does he have? As a lobbyist, his whole job was to work the grift, make money for Democrat donors and big clients of his organization. And that really is what the Climate Czar does, because they get a ton of money and they end up funneling it to people that Al Gore and Barack Obama and Joe Biden are connected to.
Well, yeah. So let's just consider, his current job is also the Inflation Reduction Act spending czar.
Oh, goodness.
So he's got $369 billion to spend on climate, on wind, solar, EVs. And, from my perspective, it's just really walking around money for the 2024 election.
Yeah.
In essence, we sending money to, basically people, they're going to be buying votes with it. And that's a lot of money to buy votes with.
So, Steve, this is just a real basic question. Is there any data to suggest that that there's global cooling or any of the efforts that we're seeing, the so-called climate change efforts, actually work? Or is the globe doing what it does on its own apart from any of these climate change efforts?
Well, we think the average sort of global temperature, which is really a sort of a nonsensical concept, it's not a physical concept, maybe has increased slightly over, since industrialization for a variety of reasons, none of which involve emissions. So we can cut emissions to zero, and it's not going to make any difference to the weather, the climate, or anything. So we're not really accomplishing anything. We're just impoverishing ourselves, making our national security weaker, ruining our economy. And it's all just about the government controlling us.
Yeah, I was struck by the Biden administration just cut, executive action stopped further exploration or exportation of natural gas, right? And this was, I believe, in retaliation to Texas's border position. This is them trying to hurt Texas. It helps Russia. It helps Qatar. But I was struck by Senator Kennedy asking one of the officials from the Biden administration, if we stopped all of this and did everything you want to do, can you tell me what difference that'll make, what impact it'll make on the climate? And they can never answer that question. They can never actually say what kind of results. They just say, well, this is what we've all agreed to.
Yeah, because it's not going to make any difference. In fact, I have video of John Kerry repeatedly saying that, even if the United States and China went to zero emissions tomorrow, it would make no difference. In fact, John Kerry has said that, the entire world could go to zero emissions, and that still is not going to solve the quote-unquote problem. I mean, John Kerry actually wants to suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and spend, get this, almost $2 quadrillion doing it.
I mean, last I checked,
that's
actually, that's big time money at that point. All right, Steve, we got to leave it there. Steve Milloy,
so much, Steve.
The founder of Junk Science. His book is Scare Pollution. Thank you, sir. It's
WMAL. Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Novak. Power you can count on.
WMAL, making sense of the markets, because generational wealth doesn't build itself. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. And Patrice, carjackings, I think it's fair to say, is kind of a problem here in the Washington area.
Absolutely, it is a problem.
A horrific problem. It's devastating the local economy.
Yeah.
People don't want to go downtown. They don't want to dine out. They don't want to stay out after dark. Muriel Bowser has now said that all workers have to come in, no longer remote work, and the unions are saying, "Oh hell no, not as long as the crime is like it is." Yeah. But we're not alone, actually. A coalition of leaders from Baltimore, New York, Philadelphia, Seattle, and Austin all met because they're having their own carjacking problem, and they've come up with a solution. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
We heard today from folks in Baltimore, in New York, in Austin.
Today, Seattle City Council member Tammy Morales taking aim at carmakers, demanding they recall and repair models that are easy to steal.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
First of all, that has nothing to do with carjackings because carjackers don't steal your car like while it's sitting there, parked. They actually rip you out of the driver's seat, sometimes kill you, and just take your car while it's running. So there's nothing a car manufacturer could do, really. But second...
I'm just shaking my head like everybody listening, saying, I can't believe these, quote, lawmakers in major cities. This is what they've come up with.
Right. There's a Grand Theft Auto epidemic, and they're not arresting, they're not punishing, they're not jailing, they're not. We just had the Attorney General of D.C. earlier this week say we're not going to arrest and convict our way out of this. The real culprit, car manufacturers, because they're making the cars too easy to steal.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like, I'll never forget my daughter. I love my daughter. I love all my kids. And Veronica is now, she's an ensign in the Navy, and she got a Naval Academy, and she wanted to join the Marines, and she's tough. And when she was 3 years old, I took her to Disneyland, and she really wanted a balloon. And I said, honey, I'm not going to get you a balloon because you're just going to lose it, and you're going to be sad. And she goes, no, I really want a balloon. Those balloons, the big balloon. Yeah. So I got her the balloon, and I tied it to her wrist. And you know what happened? It's still she ripped it off. She said, no, I don't. I want to hold it in my hand, Daddy. I want to hold it. So she's holding the balloon. She let it go. The balloon flies away. She starts crying, and she looked at me, and she said, this is why you should never buy me balloons.
That is the logic.
It was my fault.
That is absolutely the logic of these lawmakers.
That is the All right, so we'll hear more because they have a plan now. These guys, these are our elected officials.
I can't wait to hear it. If this
the resolution and the lawsuit are really about corporate responsibility.
The most familiar part of Kia theft is this: stolen cars used as battering rams to bust into businesses. No doubt you've seen it plenty of times, but somehow this was news to Councilmember Morales.
Well, that's a good question. I haven't heard that these stolen cars are being used for smash and grab.
Morales acknowledged Kia thieves often get away unafraid to run from police.
It is young people who can very easily access these cars and who are stealing them.
Do you think there should be stiffer penalties when people do steal these cars?
Well, I think there are penalties for car theft, and those should be, they should be, folks who steal them should be held accountable.
In any event, Morales wants the companies to pay the city for the costs of dealing with the stolen Kias and Hyundais. As for the incentive for youth to steal the cars,
in court, do you think the lack of deterrent from getting caught or not being chased, do you think that plays into the decision by some of these young folks to steal these cars?
Well, I won't speak to the motivations of young people, except to say that they are young people. And when issued a challenge, especially on something like social media, they like to take it up.
Oh, my God.
So kids will be kids.
Kids will be killed.
Especially with social media.
Right, so we're going to we'll maybe blame social media a little bit tangentially. Kids will be kids. You know how kids are. And not only do we blame the car manufacturers for making it easy to steal these cars, but we're going to sue the car manufacturers
and make them responsible.
Corporate responsibility, not individual responsibility, not let's punish these people who were doing these crimes. Is this not... And may I just repeat the cities involved here, because I think it's very telling when you think this is in Austin, Seattle, Baltimore, Philadelphia. What do these cities have in common, Patrice?
They're all Democratic-run cities.
That's right. This is liberal wokeism perfectly described, perfectly exemplified.
No, and this is exactly why the situation is only going to get worse.
Yep.
Until we kick these guys until citizens get rid of these lawmakers.
That's right.
Because
Until
otherwise,
there's sanity.
they have no incentive to do anything that makes common sense.
In the meantime, the blue-red divide will occur, and it's not state by state. It's city versus
is
suburbs
city by-
and
yeah.
rural.
Yeah.
It's city mouse, country
Yeah.
mouse, and we'll all retreat to the country areas, and we won't be going to your cities and spending any money. It's 8:22. So we have a new head coach for the Commanders. Yeah,
Wow.
but I just want to point out something. He was like the 8th, 9th, 10th choice. It was kind of an embarrassing sort of process where they floated all these different, options and
Yeah.
choices, and everyone said no. And my friend Ben Domenech, who's like me, is a Redskins fan, Commanders fan, and we weren't as critical of Dan Snyder as everyone else was.
Yeah.
He says, imagine the media reaction to the past 72 hours if Dan Snyder owned the Commanders. Rejected by top coaching choice while en route, rejected by next choice offhand, considered and then rejected by Belichick, and then hiring a pale imitation of the current coach, desperately considering Chip Kelly for offensive coordinator. It's chaos, but this guy gets a pass. Dan Snyder, I know everyone hates Dan Snyder, but I'm just saying.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Happy Groundhog Day, everybody. It's the second day of February. It's O'Connor and Company. 30 minutes from now, we'll hand it off to Brett Baer. Wait, no. Chris Plant. Well, Brett Baer's on my mind.
Well, he has his show at 6 p.m.
That's
Special
true.
report
No,
on
that's true.
Fox
We
News,
were just talking about Brett Baer. See, this is it. It's the last half hour of the week, and my mind
we
is
haven't seen the sun
mush.
yet. We've been in the.
You don't have
our
to make
studios.
excuses for me for having a bit of a brain lapse there. Yes, Chris Plant
Yes.
will be taking over
We
at
will
9
be
o'clock.
directly doing a handoff.
It would
to
be
Chris.
fascinating to watch Brett Baer try to do that, though, for 3 hours. I don't know if he could do talk radio for 3 hours. He has a different skill set.
Yeah.
We'll have Chris Plant. Meanwhile,
Okay.
today is Groundhog Day. We have been reporting on the fact that in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania, Puxatawny Phil did not see his shadow. In Staten Island, New York, Staten Island Chuck, which is the great-grandson of the groundhog that Bill de Blasio murdered in cold blood.
Yeah.
But it's New York, so he got off scot-free. Both of those groundhogs did not see their shadow.
We still need one more confirmation.
Is there a third groundhog that I don't know about?
No, there is Mojave Max, a desert tortoise in in Las Vegas.
Well, I mean, it's Groundhog Day, not Tortoise Day.
Well, then if he's on board, then it's
Then the science is
the
in.
science is
I mean,
in,
it's as
exactly. Mother
scientifically
Nature is
valid as anything
shouting.
Anthony Fauci ever told us about masks. It appears that we are going to have in early spring.
Okay.
If you believe the groundhog stuff.
I still think there are going to be some snowstorms on this spring, but that's me.
This, by the way, I think this whole thing is not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I am. I think the Weather Channel is behind all of this because they projected this. They telegraphed this. They sent the word out to all the rodents about what they wanted. They put together this video for social yesterday.
Dear Punxsutawney Phil, in January, we've covered 6 winter storms, 100 inches of snow in Anchorage, Alaska, negative wind chills, and temperatures. We really need you to not see your shadow on Friday. Sincerely, the meteorologist at the Weather Channel.
Well, there you go. And it worked.
It did.
It 100% worked.
This is when people actually hear about the Weather Channel, other than hurricanes and tornadoes. I mean, when it's very bad inclement weather.
That's why I don't buy this. I mean, because we want to have a mild winter the rest of the time, so our ratings go down. That
That's
doesn't make a lot of sense, does
they don't,
it?
Yeah.
No. Meanwhile, Fox News had Janice Dean, the weather machine, covering the entire Puxatawny scene there. She had a little gopher hat. Or no, I guess it was a groundhog.
It was a groundhog hat. Now, interestingly, she has a matching turkey hat because I'm very sure on Thanksgiving Eve or Thanksgiving Day, I've seen a very similar knit turkey hat.
She's all about the hats. She covers the Kentucky Derby. She puts
That's
the big,
right.
She does it, so she loves her hats.
Then.
And she seems to enjoy herself when she covers Groundhog
As
Day.
a meteorologist, this is like their Super Bowl.
Well, let's not forget,
Their Pro Bowl.
Bill Murray in Groundhog Day also played a meteorologist, but he was not...
Well, it's Groundhog Day again, and that must mean that we're up here at Gobbler's Knob, waiting for the forecast from the world's most famous groundhog weatherman, Punxsutawney Phil.
He didn't seem to quite have the same zeal, the same sort of joie de vivre.
Life in general in that movie.
So let's connect the dots here. We had. I'm disdainful of these rodents. They annoy me, and I don't understand why we set aside a day to have fun with them. Bill Murray, also my spirit animal, clearly was done with the groundhog. Animal. Bill de Blasio actually deliberately murdered a groundhog in cold blood. The question here is there any other use, Patrice Onwuka, for these animals?
Absolutely.
Okay, what?
To eat.
What? I'm sorry.
Groundhogs, I won't call them a delicacy, but apparently you can eat them. And at one time, they were kind of a popular thing to do. You would have your groundhog with like a cake on the side.
Is this something that Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies would do with roadkill groundhogs?
No, I think...
Would you go to the butcher shop and you say, I don't know, we're thinking pork, beef? No, what do you got in groundhog meat?
No. So here you go here. Some people eat groundhogs. The Pennsylvania Game Commission says that about 36,000 hunters kill over 200,000 groundhogs. And the game commissioner said, listen, groundhog is a bit stinky to clean and thick skin, but, quote, actually really good. And it's more like beef than venison.
Okay.
So
we can't do the taste like chicken joke here about groundhog.
No,
it actually tastes like hamburger. Do you just ground it? Because any ground meat will taste fine if you put enough spices.
Well,
on
that's
it.
the good question. I mean, so here's the key here. So Travis Liu, I think the game commissioner there, he advises cooks to get them while they're young, after they've eaten enough clover, because that's their diet, clover, and that is going to make the meat tastier. He offered it to his family, and everybody liked it despite their apprehensions. So apparently, the game commissioner in Pennsylvania says go for it.
Would you eat groundhog if someone served it to you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I like venison. I like beef. I like goat. I like chicken. I like a lot of things. I'm not eating a rodent.
I would eat groundhog just to spite them, just so I could feel superior on the food chain. By the way, do we want to hear today's announcement? The big.
Let's go for it.
This is the big Groundhog Day announcement. All right, here you go.
Another winter slumbered pause so I could meet the crowd. Hard to sleep anyway when the party's this loud. I envy your energy. I envy the fun. I envy all of you and your opposable thumbs. But it's not what I feel, it's what I see and what you hear, so gather round and let me be clear. Atmosphere is a wonderful thing. And we can create our own and the weather it brings.
Now, if you know how these things go, you know what's coming, because the rhyming word is ing. So it's going to rhyme with spring, right? So now I love the fact that the crowd starts to figure it out.
It brings hope for the future and so much more. Maybe some Punxsutawney Phil write-in votes in 2024.
Lord.
Glad tidings on this Groundhog Day. An early spring is on the way.
There you go. Congratulations, everybody.
The buildup is like going to a parade, the big announcement, the big parade.
By the way, kudos to all the writers and people behind this thing that they resisted the temptation of making a reference to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Oh, that's a gift to us all.
It is. I bet you thought we were all done with our groundhog talk.
Oh, can we, groundhogs, listen, let's give them their day. Let's just close it out talking about the groundhogs.
Well, we do have a little bit more.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
We have our own groundhog here in D.C.
We do? Now that I didn't know.
Down at DuPont Circle, of course, which is,
Are you sure he's not a rat? Because there are a lot of rats, big rats in DuPont Circle.
And a lot of gerbils down there as well. But no, this is it's called, is it D.C. Phil? What do they call him? It's our own version of Punxsutawney Phil. It's Potomac Phil, of course.
Potomac Phil. Okay.
And he has now Potomac Phil has a Twitter account, of course.
Will we see him on Sunday's episode of The Housewives?
I don't even want to think about that. Potomac Phil has chimed in and joined his brethren in Pennsylvania and New York. He has also not seen his shadow, and he is predicting an early spring.
Okay, this is collusion.
Apparently, so now here we go. Lady Edwina of Essex is the New Jersey, Essex, New Jersey. That's a really classy name for New Jersey, by the way. That is also one of the go-to groundhogs at the Essex County Turtleback Zoo. West Virginia has French Creek Freddy. I'm pretty sure French Creek Freddy is running for the Republican nomination for Senate this year.
He sounds like a guy you'd grab some moonshine with.
Yeah, right. Buckeye Chuck is the official groundhog of the state of Ohio. And by the way, coincidentally, Buckeye Chuck has also not beaten Michigan in over 3 years. So I'll just throw that out there.
Okay, we hear you, Larry.
Woodstock Willie is the Woodstock, Illinois groundhog. It's been a long time since I've had a Woodstock Willie. Apparently that was the actual shooting location for the movie, by the way. I feel lied to.
So they
this
really weren't in
entire
Puxatawny?
throne of lies. The Groundhog movie, Groundhog Day movie, was not actually shot at what is it? Hobbler's Knob. Cobbler's Knob. Cobbler's.
We'll figure it out.
All right, and then of course, DC has our own Potomac Phil. Here's the distinction about the DC groundhog, though.
Okay.
It's well, there's no other way to say it. It's dead. It's been dead. It is dead. It's deader than a doornail. It is a former groundhog.
So why don't they get a new one like they do at Puxatawny Phil? Like we all know that is not the same Phil every year.
No, they like to roll out the corpse there at DuPont Circle. It's like when Joe Biden makes a public appearance. This is actually Groundhog has been dead for years, and it's been taxidermied. It's been stuffed and restored.
So then how is he going to see a shadow?
Well, Patrice, I hate to break it to you, but the real live ones don't see their shadow either. So, actually, this one's more legit than any of them.
Well, at least the real one is a little believable. Like, you turn him in the right direction. Oh, yes, he sees. He doesn't see it. But a stuffed animal.
Now you feel angry. Hey, there's no way you
really
can
makes
see
me
his shadow.
Upset. That's actually what makes me.
I'm proud that our town actually sort of, has a nice little wink to everyone saying, yeah, this dead groundhog saw his shadow too.
All they need to do is go to I'm sure there is a Popeyes in DuPont Circle. Go to the back, get a big rat, and I'm sure nobody
would know the difference. Absolutely.
Put a top hat on him, and you're good.
It's 8:52. That's a wrap, Patrice. Have a great weekend.
You too.
And here comes Chris Plant. Christopher.
I was just reading about California, San Mateo County. They want to stand up a minister of loneliness, and going to be in a big building all by himself. And it's very sad. Next door to the Ministry of Silly Walks.
It does sound like it.
Because California really is becoming, well, obviously an empty shell of its former self. And